It's Platt, and today we kick it like an OG. That's next on Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is Olde English 800, one of the venerable malt liquors out there, definitely old school for those of you that like malt liquor. A little background into Olde English. The brand itself was introduced in 1964. It's currently produced by Miller Brewing, which is underneath the Molson Coors corporate banner. However, the brand's real history kind of dates back a little further, back to the late 40s, when it was known as Ruff's Olde English Stout. It was produced by People's Brewing in Duluth, Minnesota. They eventually rebranded it as Olde English 600, and then eventually sold the brand off to Bohemian Brewing, I believe, in Spokane, Washington. They later rolled the brand over to Reinhardt Brewing, who then eventually got bought out by Pabst in 1979. So Olde English finally came to rest under the Pabst catalog of beers. If you've seen some other videos we talked about, at some point in time, Pabst has owned a lot of these brands throughout the years, kind of come in and out of Pabst. If it hasn't gone to one of the major big three breweries, it probably went through Pabst at one point in time. And then Pabst held on to the brand for about 20 years until Miller bought it out in 1999. Now, there's been several versions of this beer. There's not a full Olde English line of beer. You're not going to see an Olde English Hefeweizen or Olde English Bock or anything like that. But they do have several variations of this beer, and I find it kind of interesting because it's probably having to do with jurisdictional law. There's an East Coast version that comes in at 5.9% ABV, a West Coast version that's got a little more bounce to the house, 7.5% ABV. They also did a special version. I can't imagine it's still around, but they did a special version for a while for Texas and some of the other conservative jurisdictions there in the South that's only 3.2% alcohol. Now, I grew up in Texas, and I don't remember Texas ever having that 3.2% law. I know that was a big deal in Oklahoma and some of the other southern states, but I don't remember Texas having it, but it's probably just something they produced. And they also now have a special European Union version that's 6.1%. Probably what's driving a lot of this is certain jurisdictions have rules on how strong a beer could be to be sold in a convenience store as compared to a liquor store. Or I think Utah, it wasn't that long ago that Utah finally just let beers in general go over 5%. So these breweries kind of have to play that little game. They also, when Pabst owned this brand back in 1992, they did something interesting. They came out with Olde English 800 Draft. It was cold filtered, not pasteurized, similar to Miller Genuine Draft's tagline. And they said it was a draft style malt liquor. Now, I would love to talk to someone about that because I don't think I've ever seen malt liquor on tap. And I would like to know if at one point they had Olde English Draft on tap. That would have been very interesting. Love maybe somebody, if you know out there, if any of these malt liquors have ever been on tap. I don't think I've ever seen Colt 45 or Schlitz. Man, I don't think I've ever seen Mickey's on tap, but that probably is the best candidate for malt liquors to be on tap. But I found that whole thing interesting. Olde English has always kind of got a bad rub, as just being a cheap malt liquor, that brown bag beer. But it has actually won gold at the Great American Beer Fest 4 different times for the American malt liquor category, 1991, 92, 94, and 95. Now, to go to the other extreme, the 3.2% ABV version of this, there's a website called Rate Beer that does beer reviews. And in 2010, they ranked the 3.2% ABV version as the worst beer ever. That's saying something. I will just say that Olde English is not for everybody. It's an acquired taste. Some may like it, some may not. But before we try this beer, though, let's check out the stats. So today I thought I would give you a little Las Vegas update. Every once in a while, you know, probably a couple times a year or whatever, I like to give a little update on what's going on out here in Vegas. Any news, what's going on, especially through this whole pandemic thing. At the time of this taping, we're around Veterans Day 2021. The World Series of Poker main event's going on. I think they just made the money last night or early this morning. 6,650 entrants. That's down about 23% from the last time they had the series in 2019. They had several different rules and restrictions. I think to play any tournament, I think you had to show your vaccine card. You had to be vaccinated to play in the tournament. I think they let those guys not wear a mask during the tournament, but then you had to wear it and walk in the hallway or walking in and out. You know, if you're sitting down, you didn't have to wear it, but when you walk to the bathroom or wherever, you had to wear it. Whatever. I went to the Rio the other night. I know some guys bartending there, and you could just tell the vibe wasn't there. I used to play smaller tournaments every year there, and there was such a vibe to the whole thing, but not this year, unfortunately. Next, something I totally forgot about. We have the Pro Bowl coming out to Las Vegas this year, February 6th. I remember going to Hawaii for the last Pro Bowl they had out there. The thought was that nobody really wanted to travel out there. Where they keep the players out in Hawaii was on the north side of the island, kind of away from everybody, and they just, you know, it's kind of a hassle going all the way out to Hawaii and back. The thought is, well, if we have in Vegas, maybe we can get these guys to actually show them play the game, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if the NFL really wants to be out in Vegas right now, the way things have been going for the Raiders this year and all the stuff going down, but we'll see about that. Real quick, too, lastly, if you've been out to the Strip in the last 10 years, so you notice on the north end of the Strip, there's an abandoned building. It was supposed to be called Fountain Blue originally. It's supposed to be just like the one in Miami. They had built the hotel, capped the building. They were getting ready to start hiring people and ran out of money. Over the last 10, 12 years or so, it's changed hands 3 or 4 times. They were going to call it the Drew. They were going to start back up construction again. Well, it's going to be called Fountain Blue again, and this time they're shooting for 2023. I think the original start date was like 2011, the original opening date. So, but fourth quarter 2023, we might have a new casino on the Strip. Lastly, as far as you know, COVID restriction, whatever, they're still doing the mask thing. They're still forcing the mask thing. You know, if you're out on the street, obviously not, but if you're inside anywhere, they have the nightclubs open, oddly enough, but you gotta wear a mask. Good luck enforcing that. And speaking of enforcement, unfortunately, the casinos have decided to be lazy and not hire security and stuff, and they have the employees now being the enforcers of the mask deal, and it just makes it real uncomfortable interactions with the guest. I know Caesars is over the top. Venetian, I hear, is the worst. I was never a big Venetian guy, but I hear they're just the absolute worst with the mask thing. You could just feel the vibe on the Strip. I used to love going to the Strip. I don't go there anymore just cause. And that being said, I don't think I've made this announcement on the channel yet, but I quit bartending because of it, because it's just terrible on the Strip. The crowds are terrible. You know, if you've seen the travel videos, people snapping on airplanes, well, they just keep it going when they get here. It's just terrible, and these casinos have just doubled down on the idiocracy and the way they're treating their employees. And I personally just had enough of that. That being said, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. If you got the itch, we're still open. And all I ask is that, remember, these employees or these casinos are just mistreating their employees terribly right now. Have patience with them. And especially they ask you about the mask thing. It's not them. It's our idiot governor and these idiot CEOs that run these casinos. Well, enough about that. I wasn't trying to get political, but enough about that. Let's drink some Olde English. All right, nice little golden color, about a finger head. It's actually not dissipating too fast. Let's give her pretty straightforward malt adjunct nose to it. No real hop. I'm going to say that's better than I remember. I'm not going to say it's great, but I'm just going to say that's better than I remember. malt sweetness up front, a little bit of body to it. This is not a light body beer, you know, it has definitely more body than your Bud Light, Miller Lite beers. I guess I always drink it out of a bottle, and Old English bottles are clear, so you can get that skunking effect to the beer. Where in the can, we dodge that. It just kind of tastes like a cheap lager, which to a certain extent it is, but it's not a bad. It's not a bad beer. God, I don't even think I paid like, say like $1.50, or I don't even think I paid $2 for a 24-ounce can of 7.5% beer. 24-ounce can, that's 2 beers, and you're almost at 3 beers as far as liquor, you know, amount of alcohol in there. It's kind of tough to beat. It's not a bad beer. Also, too, I think it helps. I kept it pretty cold. I remember just back in the day, you drink a 40-ouncer outside, it'd get warm fast, you know, something that big. And again, the clear glass would skunk a little bit. So, better than I remember. Well, be dang. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good product. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.